What is up? You're watching Squidmar Miniatures and I am Emil. Today I thought I'd go a little bit personal. So I thought it would be a good idea to make a Q&A or Ask Me Anything video because I've run this channel now for a few months and it's still quite new, so I don't know if a lot of people know about my past, and I thought it would be fun for you guys to kind of hear who I am and what I've done before and what I do. And so I thought it would be a fun idea just to make a video where you could ask any question you want and I'll answer them as best I can. I have somewhere around 60 questions here. If one of your questions isn't in there, I'm sorry, I just couldn't do all of them. Some of them were more like, can you tell me how to paint this thing? And that probably requires its own video. So this will be more quick questions that I can answer either about me or about painting. So let's do this. So I'm going to start with the Patreon asked questions. Why their questions go first is quite simple. They're one of the reasons why I can keep recording these videos and still put food on the table for my kids. So if you want to help me with that, the link to the Patreon page is down in the description below. So we start with a question from Oliver, and this one was also asked similarly by other people such as Templar, John Tin Murphy and Iron X. So when did I start painting and what was my original spark for it? So the first thing is I started painting when I was 11-12 years old, somewhere around that time. My friends brought me to the local Warhammer store and introduced me to Warhammer Fantasy. And I played Warhammer for I think 3 or 4 years when I was young. I just loved it so much, and a big part of it was painting. I loved being part of the Youngblood painting competitions, and I'd like to go to tournament as well, but like the painting was one of my main things. And since then I have been doing creative stuff in different forms. I used to play music, I used to do websites, I used to do photography, I used to do film. And I always had Warhammer still in the back of my head through these like 18 years when I didn't paint or play Warhammer. And about 1.5 years ago I asked an old friend that I hadn't seen for a very long time, that I knew played Warhammer still, and he kind of introduced me to Age of Sigmar again, and I got started, and it was really a spark in my life that I needed at that time, and I'm just so hooked right now at painting and playing Warhammer. So that's how I got started. Question from Jonas Bondesson. When at IKEA, what are essentials to get? Well, there's a couple of things you need to have for basing, and that is cork coasters from IKEA. I use those as foundation for building up bases, and then you need coconut fiber. You can also pick up some plastic plants at IKEA. They have some that look pretty good that you can repaint and spray, and they will look like they fit in the environment. And a second question from Jonas. How do you find time and energy to paint with small children? Because he feels like he's always tired when he put them to sleep. And I kind of get that. When I started painting, I had so much adrenaline from painting because it was so exciting to learn again and to rediscover this whole thing of painting miniatures. So the first like 6-7 months I didn't have a problem. I put the kids to sleep at like 8, and then I just sat down to paint for 3-4 hours while my wife was watching TV or something. And that was totally fine, but once you've sort of done that for a while, kind of get tired. And what I did, I kind of made it my work, so now I can paint during work hours. So that's my solution. So a question from Farnir, but also asked by Jens Hillefall. Do you actually play as well, or are you mostly a painter? If you play, which games? Well, I play mostly Age of Sigmar, because I'm a total fantasy nerd, and I also play some Underworlds from Games Workshop. That is pretty much the only games that I have time for right now. I'd love to play Dungeons and Dragons, Gloomhaven, 40k, Kill Team, Warcry, but time. So from Kim Morten Nissen, but also asked by Caleb Morris, why so idle? And Alex Cavendish. Do you have an old ugly painted miniature you can show us so you can see where you started, and perhaps one that's in between now and then? Well, yes, I can. Unfortunately, a lot of the models I painted when I was 12 years old, I repainted when I was about 15, so I don't have a lot of those left, but I can show you some of them here or here. You'll see me dance and show you. But when I got back into painting again, this was the first miniature that I painted, Branch Witch for Sylvaneth. Yeah, that was the first one I finished. I did start with like a dryad and things, but this was the first one that I finished. And in betweeners, well, I think you can check my Instagram. You can see pretty much all the history from when I had painted half a year since my return and to today. So just scroll down to the bottom and see what you can find there. So from my patron, Mortis Fever, what are your biggest creative inspirations? That's a tough one. I have a lot of creative inspirations. For miniature painting, I think it's like Sergio Calvo Rubio, Antonio Peña, just to mention a few, Rodrigo Alcore, Roman Lapat, Roman Gruba, of course. But I also take a lot of inspiration from like the nature. I'm not a big nature guy, but I do love the Swedish nature. So when I build my bases, I try to get inspired by stuff from the Swedish nature. I take some inspiration from great painters, from TV shows, movies, just from anywhere. But yeah, I try to combine different things and kind of take it into my painting style. From Dan Berger, how did you get started? Did you take classes from established painters? No, I have never taken any classes. I have never gone to art school or anything like that. I just used YouTube, and I do analyze a lot, both other people's work and my own. So if I find a miniature that I like, I try to look at it, how the light is applied to it, where the colors are, how the colors are combined, and then I try to replicate that into my own miniature. And then I also analyze my own work after it's finished. What could I have done differently? How can I improve this? And I think that's one of the main things that got me to the level where I am today. Ultra Peasant, how do you approach painting big pieces such as an Imperial Knight? I myself find it hard sometimes to scale up, so to speak. Approach painting bigger things. Well, airbrush for one is a really good thing, and just use bigger brushes, like a lot bigger brushes than you think. So I use a size 1 mostly for my Games Workshop miniatures, like the small ones, and that would be maybe like a large Citadel brush, or a size 2 from Winsor & Newton. And that is like my go-to brush for almost everything except like the tiniest details. So for painting something big, I would go much bigger. Yeah, that's it. And use an airbrush. So Lawrence Steffers has a lot of questions, and because he's a patron, he gets a lot of questions. How do you keep the mojo when going, when you are painting a project which takes a lot of time? This is a really tough one as well, and sometimes I don't. I do have projects that I've started and that I've done for half a year, and I come back after 2 months and paint for a few hours, and then I let it be for a few weeks again, and that's just the nature of it, I think, because a big project, unless you have a set deadline, like with a competition, for example, when you have to have something finished for a certain date, I find it very hard to kind of keep up the tempo. So that's maybe my challenge to you. Sign up for a competition and make sure you finish it in time. Do you have projects laying on the bench which you are afraid to start because they are so expensive or complex? Expensive? No, because I've kind of figured out how I can do this hobby at low cost. I buy a lot of used stuff and bits from friends that I trade with, so that's kind of fine. Big projects, yes, I have a Nagash up here on my shelf that I have a super fun project that I want to do, and I kind of been pushing him to the side for a while, and I hope I can do him sometime. Do you have a kind of planning of which figures you're going to paint for the community, or do you just go with the flow? Yes and no. I often talk about having fun in your hobby, and that's kind of my main goal with this channel as well. I want to continue having fun, even though it becomes a bit of a work because I have to release a video every week. So I have this schedule that I write up, kind of like, I know these miniatures people want to see, I know that these are coming up for release, and I plan about painting these, but sometimes I come up to that date and I don't have any excitement about painting that miniature, so either I push it forward or I just don't do it. And sometimes I have this impulse of just, I really want to paint this miniature now, and then I do that and I release that video, and that's kind of how it goes. So I kind of plan, but I also let myself and my mood kind of steer it as well, because as I said, I really want to have fun when I do this. Otherwise there's no reason in doing it. So question from Beardo, but also asked by Yasko. Why the name Squidmar? Well, this is kind of a boring story, I guess. My friend who got me into this game again, Albin, he opened a Facebook chat with me and a couple of other friends, and he named it Age of Squidmar. And I asked the guys in the group, because that kind of became our club name, if I could use it for my Instagram way before this channel even was thought of, or before people started following me on Instagram. I asked if I could use the name Age of Squidmar there, and then I just kind of took it along. And because I just don't do Age of Sigmar stuff, because I also do Dungeons and Dragons stuff, I also do 40k stuff and busts and other things, I kind of just switched it to Squidmar miniatures instead of Age of Squidmar, so it fits better to the theme of this channel, because yeah, I don't want to lock myself into a corner. I want to do what makes me happy, so if that's building terrain for 40k, or if it's doing Dungeons and Dragons figures, I want to be able to do that and not just Age of Sigmar stuff. Emilio Muffin Love Miranda, how long time does it take for you to edit an episode? Well, yes, is the answer. It takes a lot of time. So let's talk about the process a bit. So if it's a painting episode, I have to paint the miniature, and that could be somewhere from 1 hour to 20 hours. And then I have to edit the material, and depending on how much material that is, it could be 10 hours or it could be 30 hours of editing. And then I have to do voiceover and adding the music and things like that. So I would guess somewhere around 30 to 50 hours is the average for a video. So it's very hard to find time for it unless you try to make it your full-time job. Yeah, but 30 to 50 hours to make a good video. I can make a speedy one in like 20 hours. But I prefer to make the ones when I sit down and kind of write up an idea of what I want to talk about or what I want to paint. I think those also end up being the better videos. And yeah, that's like every week. It's 30, 40, 50 hours to record and edit. So yeah, it takes a lot of time to make a channel, but it's so much fun. Oskar Dahlström, pros and cons of hobbying in a small country like Sweden. Harder to get specialty supplies, fewer competitions or competitors that help you progress as a painter, or does it promote a smaller and tighter community? Well, I wouldn't say that there are a lot of cons, because here in Umeå we have, I think it's the oldest Warhammer store that's in Sweden. It's not an official Warhammer store, but it's called Fantasia North. And they've been around since I was a kid. It's like 30 years of Warhammer. That's just incredible. And around that, he built an incredibly strong community as well. So people supporting the store and smaller games and Warhammer. And there's just a really, really good atmosphere here. So that's a really good thing with my city. I don't know about smaller cities otherwise. And same goes for painting. We do have a couple of Golden Demon painters that's been living here before. Yeah, even though it's a small city with like 100,000 people, we can still get enough good painters to have these workshops like we had with Roman Gruba, and I think that's just super amazing. I've had Emil as a guest before, who's an amazing painter, and I will have a different guest in a few weeks that's just incredibly good painter here in my city. So yeah, Umeå is fantastic. It's like the mecca of Warhammer in Sweden. Benjamin Desmarais, if you could pledge to only one Patreon campaign, who would it be? Well, except for my Patreon campaign, you know, so I can... No, but seriously, any artist that puts out video content on like a regular basis puts in a lot of time and effort. As I said, for me, it's like 30 to 50 hours every week for just the videos, and that doesn't count making the website, responding to emails, responding to comments and things like that. If there's an artist that you like, that you enjoy watching, a lot of them, they risk their work and like put their lives out there for you as a viewer so you can get free content. So if you have a couple of extra dollars, like support the Patreon campaigns of creators that you like. And I have supported a couple of them. I have supported Ben Comets, Sergio Calvo Rubio, and Antonio Peña. And all of those are incredibly good in their own way. And the reason why I supported those is because they have a style that I like. And the painting style, I kind of preferred Sergio Calvo and Antonio Peña. But I know a lot of other people that preferred Ben Comets. So that's 100% personal. And I would say support the ones that you want to support on Patreon because you like what they do and not because you want something in return. If you like Black Magic Craft, go support him. If you like the videos that I do, feel free to support me. If you like Miniac, go support him. Yeah, that's my rant about Patreon. Edwin Dochenbrauch, I think I just slaughtered your name. Sorry for that. Do you have a full-time or part-time job outside of painting miniatures? Well, yes, I kind of do. I have been running my own company for 7-8 years now. I do advertising, photography, and film in advertising. I can show you some stuff scrolling over my face right now, where I mostly shot like artists and high-end commercial stuff. But when I started painting 1.5 years ago, I was at a place where I just didn't have any creative return from doing that anymore. You know, even if I used to say it's the best job in the world, and it probably was, I just wasn't having fun anymore with it. So painting kind of gave me that creative mojo back, and doing these videos even more so. And it's so fantastic because from like all the added revenue that I get from like the AdSense from YouTube, the Patreon campaigns, and what you guys shop on Amazon, I've already started getting up like 2.5 days of salary every week. So I kind of put the business on hiatus for now and kind of put all focus into this channel because I have so much fun doing it. I get so much back from you as a community, and yeah, I just hope that I can be able to do this full time within the next couple of months. Otherwise, I will have to do that more again because my savings will have run out. So please continue watching my videos, continue supporting on Patreon and buying stuff from Amazon using my links because, yeah, this is way too much fun to not take the chance and try to make it a full-time thing. Lucas Stanton, how many tentacles is that leopard print t-shirt hiding? Blue. Sirius Tacticus, how many models have you painted and what was the very first miniatures you built and collected? The first army that I collected was Wood Elves, so I'm guessing it was like Wood Elf archers, you know, those monopose ones from the late 90s. Yeah, I think that was my first models. When I got back into painting, I started building like a lot of stuff at first, and then I tried painting a Dryad and it just didn't work, and I tried painting a Kernoth Hunter and I couldn't make it work, but the first one I finished was a Branch Witch. So yeah, and the amount of models I've painted since I started again, I think probably 150, 200 somewhere, I'm not sure. I don't count, as I said, I'd like to have fun with miniatures. So Fabio Sanchez, can you say the double L like paella or vallejo? I don't know, can I? Michael R, I'd still love to see a post after shading tutorial. Well, yes, me too. I will probably make one about after shading with the airbrush. Hetzrosen, there's a distinct look from miniatures painted by Games Workshop. How do you achieve that? I'm trying with every kind of soft blend and every technique I know to paint that. I painted in acrylics, and every time I paint something, it looks like a dark blob. It's very hard to say what you're doing wrong when I don't see your miniatures and I don't see your process. Games Workshop have a lot of tutorials on their YouTube page. So if that's the style you like, go check out their website and their tutorials. That's not my favorite style, so I haven't really tried painting it a lot. So I don't know, paint more. Big Deal Neil asks, have you done a lot with NMM? If you have any future plans for a video on it? Yes, I have painted non-metallic metal. I love painting non-metallic metal, probably because I find it easier than true metallic metal, so I prefer to do that. Yes, there will be a tutorial sometime, I don't know when, a month, a half year, sometime. I produce as many videos as I can, so it will come sometime. Herogis Painting Minis. What is the tip, event, book thing that really helps you during your hobby progress? I'm guessing you mean to progress as a painter, to get better. I did learn a bit from watching the Sergio Calvo Patreon and the Antonio Pena Patreons. I really liked painting those because they have a really like fluid way of painting, so they just do stuff, and if it's wrong they adjust it on the fly. It's not like every stroke have to be perfect, and I really enjoy that process, and that's something I got away from that. Otherwise it's just analyzing paintings, trying to copy things from other. Yeah, that's my tip. Watch YouTube, watch my videos, of course. Aethercraft, hey Squidmar, how do you handle chalkiness of white paints and other light pigments that can leave a chalky texture? Well, to be honest, I haven't really had a problem with this. I know a lot of people do, and I think a lot of it has to do with you thinning your paints kind of wrong, so that the pigments and the medium in the paints are separated. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. Might be that you're using a shitty paint. I'm sorry if I said shit. I did it again. Shit. Buy a better white paint would be my suggestion. This one is awesome. It's Schminke Titanium White. It's like a fine art heavy body white, so I can recommend that one. And in terms of like yellows and stuff like that, just don't thin it as much. Watch my wet palette video and see how I thin the paints, and just do more layers. That's my recommendation. The Fuzzy Swede, power gamer or hobby hammerer? I'm kind of both, I think. I like to win, but I don't show up to a tournament with a broken list that I know is gonna out-to-win 5 games. I show up with like a semi-fluffy but kind of opted list, and I like to place in the top. I've never won a grand tournament, but some small ones. 4th and 5th was my highest placement on the biggest Swedish tournament, Fnatic. So yeah, I'm kind of semi-power gamer, but I try to make sure that everyone has fun. I try. Hernium. What is your favorite brand of mini paint? If it's situational, when to use Vallejo, Scale 75 or Citadel and so on. I don't have any favorite one. I prefer the dropper bottles. That's pretty much what I can say. Other than that, I found good colors in every brand, and pretty much every paint I ever bought from every brand I have some use for. So my recommendation is just to have fun. But yeah, Vallejo is an easy recommendation because it has dropper bottles and they're readily available pretty much anywhere. So yeah, but I like all of them. DJ Beanstalk. Did you notice any change in your painting skills when you were making the YouTube videos? Well, no, I didn't, because making these videos take up so much time that I actually think I paint less for myself now than I did before. So if anything, it probably slowed down a bit my development. But I'm having so much fun that I'm gonna keep making these videos. Tabletop Painter, what gear do you use when you record videos? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have a website. Squidmar.com, and on the gear page there I have listed all of the gears that I use on a daily basis when recording and when painting. But my main camera is a Canon M50. I also have some gear from my business that I use, like a Canon 5DSR, and yeah, the microphone is a Blue Yeti, and then I use just the lights, like working lights that I have at home, because I don't own a lot of movie lights. I own a lot of like huge flashes, but not like the film lights, so I just use whatever I have at home in terms of light. Greedy Paint. If you rediscover one miniature and repaint it, which one would it be? I would love to repaint a Lariel again. Not now, but if I wouldn't have painted her, I would love to paint her again. That's a fantastic model. Another one is like the Mega Boss. I really had fun painting it, but I'm not looking forward to painting another one. Mil Van Calari and Martirio83. What lamps do you use for miniature painting? Color, temperature? Well, I have 4 different lamps actually. I think you probably just need one, but I have 4. The main one I use is this XL desk task lamp. All of these I have linked as well on my website squidmar.com. I put the link in the description, of course, as well. And that one is really wide, so I get like a good spread of light. I also have these 2 lights you can see here, daylight balanced as well. So all of these are around 6000 Kelvin, so I get like a good natural daylight from them. And that's just to make the room a bit brighter because I'm sitting in my basement, so it's incredibly dark in here. And then I have a 4th one that I barely use anymore. It's this one. I have it as my headlight for these shots. And this one is like a circular LED task lamp with one of these magnifying glasses on. And yeah, those are the 4 lamps that I have. And as I said, all of this is described on my website as well, with links to purchase. Miniman Painter. Looking into the past of your painting, what would you do differently? Well, I don't know. I've had a lot of fun, and I've learned like every step of it when starting to take commissions, for example, and when painting my own armies, and when painting for a competition, and when starting this YouTube channel. Differently, I don't know. No, just have more fun. Don't feel pressure about painting what other people tell you to paint, or painting something because you need it for a game. Just like paint what you enjoy and have more fun, of course. Ooh, I've removed who asked this question. How can I improve the flow and impression of movements in figures? I think what he's asking here is because a lot of miniatures are kind of stiff in their pose, so you kind of want to increase the drama of the miniature and kind of make it look like they're having more power in their movement. And I think the main thing here is you need to learn how to paint with light. Like, you need to shape the miniature with light instead of just using flat light all over the miniature. So learning how light would hit a person that is running towards the sun, for example, or how it would look in a night light, for example. It's kind of a hard thing to describe. Maybe I can make a video of it sometime. David Snodgrass. Ooh, we have a YouTuber question here. What is your favorite flavor of jam? Cloudberry, maybe blueberry jam and cloudberry jam, Swedish berries, incredibly tasty. Yeah, that's my favorite jams. Okay. Power metal painting. Are you a former member of the Swedish metal band Sonaria? Yes, I am. You did your homework, I see. Yes, from when I was like 15 to 25, I used to be a touring musician in a metal band called Sonaria. We played like Swedish death metal / blackish metal. I don't know. I'll put a sample up so you can listen to it now. I used to have hair down to my waist, but I don't anymore. Days 144. Hey Squidmar, what is your method when learning a new painting technique? And what progression of techniques would you recommend a new painter to learn to bring their painting to a competition level? Well, one thing is to kind of learn how to get smooth transitions. Using a wet palette is a good thing. Learning how to like blend in your brush and thin paints in your brush is a good thing to learn. And then just analyzing how colors work together and how light works on miniatures. And I keep coming back to that because that's so important. Learning how light works and how things look in real life or under a certain type of light, that's super important. Roll Will Minis. What is the most difficult model you have ever painted? Hands down, it's the avatar of Shah from Raging Heroes. That miniature was huge and it took me ages to paint, and yeah, that was tough. Nissebus, will you come to Gothenburg to have a workshop? Well, Nisse, I will if you book me. I will come to Gothenburg, I promise. Ape of Sigmar. Has there ever been a game or army that you either swore to never play or have zero interest in and ended up giving in and loving it? Not board games, I think, because I haven't been doing it for ages, so I haven't really come to that point yet. But video games, yes. Cell phone games, yes. Yes. Some of them I'm a bit ashamed of. How many hours I spent. Figma Nerd, what is your favorite Chaos God and why? To be honest, I'm not a huge Chaos fan. I'm sorry, please don't unsubscribe. The Horned Rat is super cool, I love Skaven, but I was never a super fan of like the gory, bloody side of Khorne and the deceased side and the nude side of Slaanesh. Yeah. I'm more of a Order Chaos Destruction guy in Age of Sigmar, and in 40k I like Orcs and I like Eldar and I like Space Marines and Tau. Yeah. Too edgy. Thoughts on Army Painter paints? Well, if you watched my video from this week, you saw that I just got some paints from Army Painter and I'm looking forward to trying them. I only use their washes, like the strong tone and soft tone, and I really like those a lot. Paints, I don't know yet, let's see. Bilbo Corazon. I want to do a vibrant orange on my GSC Ridge Runners, but end up with a shitty bland orange. What should I do? Well, there's a couple of things you can do, because orange is one of those paints that have a really thin pigmentation, like it's very hard to make it cover good, so adding some inks to your orange is a good thing, and also kind of fooling the eye is another thing. You can use like darker browns going up to orange, and you can use reds to kind of make it feel like it's orange, but you still need that kind of top punch to be fully orange. So adding some inks to your paints when airbrushing will definitely get you some more vibrancy to it. Mr. Gibb, how do you deal with painter's block or lack of motivation? I try to do the things that I'm excited about, instead of like starting a Skaven army and painting 300 rats, which would look amazing, but I know I wouldn't paint more than 3 of those rats. I do stuff that I'm really excited about, and if I ever get tired of doing painting for a while, then I start building stuff, or I start converting stuff, or base painting them. Just like do whatever I'm excited about at that point. Sometimes it means just ordering fun stuff, and that's fun. Yeah, don't worry too much about block and lack of motivation. Do what makes you happy. Just do something, and that will help you come across that first stop of the block. If it means painting a base layer for 5 minutes, do that. If it means building a miniature instead of painting, do that. And then tomorrow you will feel better. The R's. How do you get those perfect eyes in the miniatures? Okay. Yeah, I think we will have to make a video on this. It's quite hard to describe in just words. A lot of it has to do with looking at how an eye looks in real life and what reflections you have in eyes and how the iris reflects light hitting it, etc. So I'll make a video on that sometime, I promise. I shouldn't promise. I think I will make a video. Islam Fuda. Is there a way of applying patterns other than decals? Well, yes, there is. There is this brand called Fallout Hobbies that makes stencils that look really good. So check out Fallout Hobbies. I'm not sponsored by them. I've never gotten anything from them. Also, you can learn to do freehands. That's a bit more difficult, but adding a couple of drops of Float Aid or Flow Improver will make the paint flow a bit better, so it's easier to make freehand stuff. So that's a start. Oh, a gamer, what is the meaning of life? Red and orange and hamburgers. Welsh Wizard, what do you plan to teach yourself next, painting-wise, or areas you feel you could improve? Sculpting, definitely. That's one of the things that I've been excited about learning, like either 3D sculpting or sculpting with clay. I really want to learn how to make some nice conversions and to make my own miniatures and things like that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna learn. And light, definitely light. Even if I feel like I'm getting better at painting light, I want to learn even more how to do it. Shantsim, do you like to eat squid? Well, I have tried squid I think 3 or 4 times when I've been at vacation in Greece or something, but that was like 12 years ago or something, but it was okay. Yeah, if somebody would cook me squid, I would gladly eat it. Lancer Fox, bright green lenses. Sure. Adrian Leach, Space Wolf's contrast tutorial. Probably no. You have a different Space Wolf tutorial on my website. Check out that. Wealthy Family Man, does your wife get involved with the hobby at all? No, she really doesn't. She doesn't have any interest whatsoever in my hobby. She's kind of excited about doing like mini dioramas, so I'm gonna try to get her to do some of that stuff, but yeah, no. Will you be doing a Paint Bravely series? Maybe. I don't think I will call the series Paint Bravely, but I will definitely do more of these mental block kind of videos where I give inspiration in how you can improve without actually learning a new technique, but just making it easier for you during your process. Hewitt 1941, is there any chance you can do a Iron Golem tutorial, please? I keep coming back to this about having fun with painting, and I had this idea of making an Iron Golem tutorial, and I actually said that I would when I painted the other Heart Eater warband, but I just didn't feel excited about it, so I ended up not doing it, even though I said I would. I'm sorry. So I probably won't be doing an Iron Golems tutorial, but check out Marco Frisoni NMG. He made an epic speed paint tutorial of those, so shout out to Marco Frisoni. Great YouTuber, by the way. Renito Art, what is your favorite Games Workshop model? Well, I have a lot of them. Nagash is one of them, Alariel is one of them, Gordrak is one of them, the new Death Army, I can't remember the name now, but like the leader there looks freaking fantastic. Yeah, that's just a few of them. Boy in the Corn, what is the longest you've gone without painting? Well, from when I was 15 to when I was 31-ish. I didn't paint a single miniature, and I kind of regret it, but I'm also glad that I came back now because I had so much passion for it. Edison Juarez. I find it impossible to achieve glazes. I don't even achieve the consistency of the paint. Any advice that helps me out of the pothole? Yes, I do have. Check my wet palette video and I will teach you how to make a glaze in your brush without having to thin it with medium or anything. So that's my recommendation. Everything up there. Video. Kirk George, sometimes I see miniatures attached to bases before painted, sometimes I see assembled miniatures being painted before mounted to base, and sometimes I see miniature being painted before they are assembled. When do you use each of these processes of painting, and what are the best practices? Also pros and cons. Once again, we come back to having fun while painting. I'm not a huge fan of painting sub-assemblies, as it's called, because it just detracts a lot of the fun for me, but sometimes I have to for a competition, for example, so I can paint the details under an armor that only can be reached before you add the armor plate. But I don't enjoy that necessarily anything at all, actually, to be honest. So I like to assemble my model as much as I can without it kind of ruining the painting process, and then I paint it. That's pretty much my way of painting. Leo Cook. It's not maybe exciting, but I would like to learn how to paint black and to highlight it. Well, yeah, that sounds exciting. I don't have a video yet. Maybe I will someday. Dennis David, how to paint black, how to use glazes, loading brush technique as example. Well, Dennis, I think I've answered all of these before, I hope. Paint splattered vet. What does a submarine cost? I mean, you asked me to ask anything. Well, a submarine depends on what loadout you have. It's kind of like asking how much does a car cost? Do you mean a toy car, or do you mean a super expensive sports car that's gonna race for Formula 1? That's probably gonna be more expensive, so I can't give you an answer unless you give me a more specified question. John Östholm, how would you approach painting Nighthaunt and basing Nighthaunt units? Well, that's kind of a fun question. How I would approach it? I would probably incorporate some colors that's not usually in Nighthaunt. Like usually it's just like blues, blacks, and greens. I would probably try to get some reds in there. I can remember the name of the guy. It's like Axia Painting or something that did like a whole warband with red Nighthaunt. That's awesome. And The basing, depending on what realm I would be in, it would be cool with like ice bases and like contrast that with like blue and red on the miniature. That would be awesome. Do it. Yak Sarge. Have you painted historical miniatures or do you stick with fantasy and sci-fi? I have painted the old Barbarian, which is kind of a historic miniature. That was super fun. I would love to paint historical busts. Some of them look so good. I love fantasy, but whenever I get a chance or buy something or someone sends me something, I will probably paint some historical stuff. Dave Scribner, what do you feel you do better than anyone else? I'm very good at being me. That's pretty much the only thing I'm better than anyone else at. I don't know, like every part of painting, there's always someone who's better than you, and don't be discouraged by that, because like the only one we compete with truly, even like at the competition, is ourselves, is to make something better than the last thing we did. And I don't think you always have to do that too, like understand me wrong or right here, but just be yourself and be the best you can be, if that's what you want to be. Doug Fasani, what led you to starting doing your YouTube channel? I feel like I kind of touched on this, but yeah, I was just really not in a happy place at my old work, and I just had to do something creatively because I just couldn't stand like arguing with advertising agencies about small pennies for a project that has like $100,000 budget. That I just didn't have any fun with it anymore. I don't know. Some projects I had super fun. I had some clients that were incredible, but like the majority, like the process of it drained more energy than it gave me. So yeah, I'm going to keep those clients that I had, probably, depending on how fast I get this thing running full time, and just do like a couple of jobs every year and then focus on doing this, because I get so much more back from this at the moment, so that's what I have to do to be me, you know, be happy. Siegfried, this is the guy who gave me the Space Wolf in the last video, by the way. Super friendly guy, great viewer. What's your dream figure to paint and or collect? Oh, right now I'm dreaming of when I will have time to do my Nagash. I'm just so much looking forward to that. I'm actually really into painting Space Marines right now. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've only painted like 8 Space Marines in my life, and I had super fun with every one of those. So I'm gonna paint more Space Marines, probably Imperial Fists next, probably. Can't promise, but I'm looking forward to trying that out. Probably look forward to paint some more busts as well, just because you can do even more details with those. And maybe some tank or something. These new tanks look amazing. Like, as I said 100 times before, I don't play 40k, but painting the miniatures, oh my god, it's fun. So yeah, that's, yes. That's my answer. Also Tau, they look great. I want to paint some Tau sometime. Favorite sculptor of miniatures and favorite painter? Wow. Favorite sculptor? I have so many different ones that I like. I can't answer one. I can plug Trovarion. One of the busts he's making right now. It's not finished, but I'm so excited about that one. So check out Trovarion's YouTube page. I will link it in the description. He's awesome. Yeah. Favorite painter? I think I have to say Sergio Calvo Rubio. He's probably my all-time favorite painter. Going back kind of to the question I had about painting to kind of make something look like it's moving more, he's the expert on that. Just look at these Ushabtis and these old trolls that he painted. Like, he really makes them look alive. Even though these are like 20, 30 years old sculpts, he makes them look like they were made yesterday, and he's just an expert on that. If I could be the protege of anyone, if I could be the intern, it would be Sergio. But best painter in the world, maybe Kirill Kanaev too. But he has like a different style, and it's like super detailed and so technical. I don't think I could do that anytime soon. But he's amazing. What's your ratio between painting and playing games? Well, right now it's like 98% painting, for the simple reason that I can paint during working hours. At least for now. And when the kids come back from school, I have to take care of them. I have to put them to bed, and when it's like 8-9 in the evening, it's so late that I can't play games, because Age of Sigmar games take like 4 hours to play. So yeah, that's why I started playing Underworlds more. That is why And that is the reason why I started playing Underworlds, is because it's a faster game, so I have time for it. But yeah, I'm going to tournament in 2 weeks, so if you're going to Fantasia Fanatic, meet me there, say hi. Looking forward to that. Are you a member of any gaming clubs? Yes and no. I am kind of part of 3 gaming clubs in Umeå, but I'm actually just part of one of them, which isn't really a club, but we are kind of a club. We're not officially a club, but I also guessed these other 2 clubs, Fusk and Warp Fuel Gas Station. Age of Squidmar, that's my club. Do you read the fluff of Age of Sigmar or Black Library books, 40k, for example? I wish I did, but I rarely have time to read, so I look at Doug at 2+ Tough's videos about the lore. He's so awesome, and I try to read like the battle tomes that I buy for the teams that I play. But yeah, I wish I could read more, but I don't have much time. Thomas Öberg, I would like to know which painting techniques a fairly new painter should learn and suggestion on the order. Oh wow. My first suggestion is to learn how to use the wet palette, because if you can get like a good flow of the paint in your brush, it's a lot easier to just apply any paint whatsoever onto your miniatures. So that's my first suggestion. My second suggestion would be maybe to look at a lot of tutorials, just try to replicate what other people do. And when you feel like you've come to a place in applying paints that you think is good, that's when you can start looking at these like void blending and wet on wet blending and all the things like that. It's hard to say, just like try different stuff and have fun. Hey, sorry about that. Try different things, see what works for you, see what doesn't. That's how you find out what you like and what part of painting you like. Yeah, just try to, the wet palette, I think it's a strong start, and learning how to kind of blend the paints into your brush. Start with that and then you get on to the next thing. Oh, here's a difficult name. Timoteusz Kosinski? Sorry if you already talked about this question. When and if you play Age of Sigmar, do you go to the Games Workshop store or some other wargaming shop, or do you play at home with selected friends? Yeah, the store we have here in Umeå, it's Fantasia. They sell other games too, but it's like 80-90% Games Workshop stuff. I don't play a lot there, but I do go to some like smaller tournaments there. Usually they have like a 1 day or 3 games tournament, and those are super fun. I mostly play at home with my friends. Sometimes I go to these other smaller clubs like Warp Fuel Gas Station, but my favorite type of playing, I think, is with friends. But I do enjoy tournaments. They are so much fun. I think everyone should try it at least once. It's not as scary as it sounds. Toko, who is your favorite YouTube painter and YouTuber outside of painting? We kind of touched on this, like Antonio Peña and Sergio Calvo Rubio. They are 2 incredible painters. They also have YouTube stuff, but mainly on Patreon, but some of the stuff is for free as well. Yeah, there are so many good painters. I don't know. Miniac I just love him because he's such a good editor and it's super funny guy. Black Magic Craft, he's not the best painter, but I love his videos, so check out that guy too. Other YouTubers I like, I'm kind of right now, I really like Davey504. I like Jazza just because they have fun with arts, and I'm just so much into their vibe. I also like John Oliver, if you're into like not directly politics, but like social things. He's a comedian that does like social commentary, I guess. Incredibly good. Darth Sid XY. Hey Squidmar, what's your opinion on speed painting, especially about dry painting versus edge highlighting? Speed painting, it's fantastic. I like to do that a lot of times when I have stuff I just want to have for gaming and not for display stuff, or when I don't want to improve, I just want to have something painted. Speed painting is incredibly valuable. And once again, Marco Frisoni and MG have done some incredible painting tutorials with that. I've done some speed painting terrain videos that I'm really proud of, so I'll link that one up there in this corner. In terms of dry brushing and edge highlighting, I don't do a lot of either of them. I try to paint volumes using like light, and I've said that before. Planes of light, learning how light hits stuff. That's my preferred way of painting. How do you go about reimagining a mini shrouded in mist? Well, mist is kind of this weird thing because it really just makes things not visible, you know, kind of like adds a veil, so you kind of see things almost not seeing them. If I would do a miniature in mist, I would probably paint like a backdrop. I would probably paint the miniature very matte, like not high contrasted, adding lots of like grays and whites, and that's a really tough one. I don't know, mist. Wow, yeah, it's a good question though. Can we get a Squidmar Rampart meme? Ha, hashtag outdated memes. Okay, here you go. Hokersaurus. I'm brand new to Warhammer. Well, I used to do it when I was a kid, but let's not talk about that. What tip do you have for someone who's extremely new? I don't water my paints down at all right now. Should I be watering them down? See the previous questions about techniques for new people. Start using the wet palette for watering down your paints. Watch tutorials and analyze what other people do. Overdrive active. I often thin with a 50-50 mix of matte, medium and distilled water to get a glaze-like consistency. I get pretty good results so far. Will glazing medium perform similarly, better or just different for this purpose? I have a super good answer for that, and the answer is I don't know. I'm sorry. Try it. If you don't want to try it, I don't think you're missing out on anything. I barely ever use mediums, mixing mediums, things like that, thinning mediums. I use water and a wet palette. Watch the wet palette video, it's incredibly good, I tell ya. Gilad Paleon, what's your favorite generic miniature? So I'm guessing it's like a non-hero thing, like not the big monsters. I really like the tree revenants from Sylvaneth for Age of Sigmar. I really like painting the Primaris Space Marines. Those are really fun to paint. Ooh, Vanguard Paladin Riders for Stormcast, and maybe the Eel Riders from Idneth Deepkin. That's some amazing models. Will Moore, when will you hang the epic painting on the wall? I'm thinking he means this one. Sometime. I need to get a better drill. I'm sorry. I haven't hanged it yet. How many wigs do I have? I think I have maybe 10, and then I have like 20 mustache wigs as well. As I said, I used to work in advertising photography, or do work in, I don't know how to say it, but I have a lot of them from different fun projects. How do you get so many crossover with epic painters? Well, I asked them, and if you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram account and you show your feet, like show what you can do, people will start responding to that. Yeah. How do I get a free Squidmar t-shirt? Well, I'm glad you asked. You get a free Squidmar t-shirt by giving me money and going to my website and ordering from squidmar.com. I also put the link directly to the t-shirt in the description down below. These t-shirts are awesome. I don't make a lot of money from these t-shirts, but I do love having them, and once I get enough money so I cover the cost of my first t-shirts, I will be making a new design with a different designer, and then I will be doing this thing where I just add new cool designs. So go buy some t-shirts and I will make more cool Warhammer t-shirts and miniature t-shirts. Dustin and Dragons 1. What is the best method for painting the raised decoration on a shield and not getting any on the base color? So I'm guessing just leaks on the sides. Well, it's 100% just brush control. You kind of have to learn how to use the side of the brush, the tip of the brush, having steady hands, and Roma Gruba talked about this, just moving it closely, making small strokes, having steady hands on your table and on your miniature. Yudar Raikumar. If you only had 1 minute to paint for the rest of your life, which mini would you pick? Wow. 1 miniature for the rest of my life. If I just could paint one more, I would probably take Nagash because he's huge and that would give me some time. If I had to like repaint the same thing over and over again, I don't know. I'm sorry. I like painting skin, so something with a lot of skin. Live by June. I really want to know how to paint a pro stone stairs for Dungeons & Dragons, the style and color in some professional pieces. If you want to paint stone and do it in a kind of fun way, you can watch my speed painting terrain tutorial on this side again. Pachow! Look, I'm like the mini guy. watch that video. I paint stone like a dark green and blue and it looks great. So do that. That's cool. Can you show us your tattoos? Well, yes, I can. So I went to this tattoo artist in Umeå called Anders from Port Royal Tattoo, and I asked him to just paint some cool Japanese creatures. So this is Karasu Tengu, which is some cool bird human-like thing. This one is the band logo that I had, the band that I told you about earlier. I did this when I was 18, so that's kind of a cool part of my life. And then I have like the Japanese phoenix here. It's the same as tattoo artist as this one. And it's not finished yet, but since you get kids, it's not so easy to tell your wife, I'm gonna take $1,000 to just go and make tattoos. So it's kind of idle right now. I'll finish it someday, and then I'll probably go to the next arm. Reese Taylor, hey, recently bought some UV resin from Green Stuff. How would you go about painting base for water for a forest theme base? Well, water in forests, at least here in Sweden, are kind of dark, brownish and greenish, because you have like moss and stuff and algae in the bottom. So I would go about just wet blending with a lot of greens and browns. One of the first videos I did was like how to make a display base for Warhammer. So I'll link that one here again. And there I paint like the water for a forest base. And the last question, Kurt Mifsud Bonick. Given that I doubt I will get any time to transfer my Citadel paint pots to dropper bottles, could you explain the best method of transferring paint from a Citadel pot onto wet palette? Just put it upside down and pour everything out and you're good. No, but seriously, you have to try it out yourself. I don't know, I hate using Citadel pots. So guys, that's it for today. I hope you learned something new about me, maybe something about painting, I doubt that, but I had a lot of fun answering these questions from you guys, and I'm really thankful that you took your time to ask them, and I thank you even more for taking the time to watch this whole video. Subscribe to this channel if you don't already, but I'm guessing anyone who is still around is already subscribed. Check out my website, support me on Patreon, all of those things, and thanks everyone once again for sticking around and just making this channel work and for making me able to have so much fun doing this. So have a great day. Bye. Massive shout out to all of my new $10 supporters: Lugeni, Oliver, Errol Foster, Stefan Lagerstam, and Strider's dad, and of course my top Patreon supporter Albin Åström.